pulmonary wellness. Today, we're going to be having a discussion with Kayla. Kayla is a chronic disease management clinician. She is a certified respiratory educator, and she is an occupational therapist by background with over 10 years experience. Kayla, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit more about occupational therapy and what occupational therapists do?
So, occupational therapists think of all of your daily tasks as occupations. So, we helped people to regain independence in areas of their life that are very important to them so that they can live meaningful lives and engage in their lives as well. And so, like with those occupations, we have to figure out what the barriers are, whether it's emotional, social, or physical, or mental health.
So, are there specific reasons that people, especially people with chronic lung disease, might want to get the services of an occupational therapist for?
An occupation, if someone with a respiratory condition, they might want to see an occupational therapist with regards to energy conservation, mental health and anxiety, which may be causing shortness of breath and or exacerbating shortness of breath, um, and just sort of helping them to modify tasks so that they can complete it to their best ability and remain independent in community.
Amazing. You mentioned energy conservation. This is a term that's probably unfamiliar to people. Could you talk a little bit more about what energy conservation is?
So, energy conservation is doing tasks in a way that help you to use less energy so that you have more energy throughout the day to complete more tasks.
Yes, our clients who live with a chronic lung condition do find that getting fatigued throughout the day can be a problem and it can be quite limiting for them. So, energy conservation is certainly something that can help them to live a more fulfilling life. One of the ways that people do this is called the four P's. Is something that we learned about in respiratory therapy school. Can you talk about that in the occupational therapist perspective?
Sure. So the four P's are pacing, planning, prioritizing, and posture. So pacing involves spreading activities evenly throughout your day and week so that you avoid the occurrence of uh, energy over expenditure or shortness of breath. So it's definitely a process of learning how to effectively manage your activity and energy levels in order to manage your shortness of breath or your condition. So pacing is important because if you rush through a task and you don't take any breaks, you'll end up in bed for days potentially, or in bed that day for the rest of the day and into the next day. So the result is overdoing it and then paying for it later. So the next one is planning. And planning takes a lot of thinking ahead to and breaking down of activities and seeing where you can maybe save some energy or use like an adaptive device to see if we can make that task easier. And also planning includes planning rest breaks throughout your day as well. Prioritizing is deciding which items on your to-do list are the most important for you to do and which ones can wait. And then the fourth one, posture. Ergonomic positioning can improve energy efficiency and lessens the strain on your body. So to help people, I often talk about the spoon theory.
Tell me
So I'm
about
not
this
sure.
spoon theory. That's not something I'm familiar with.
So the spoon theory is kind of weird, but I found like a lot of clients really like using it. So in this theory, each spoon represents a finite unit of energy. So some people may have an unlimited supply of spoons, but often people with chronic illnesses have to ration their spoons just to get through the day. So, for example, I might wake up one day after a great sleep, um, a great breakfast. Maybe I worked out in the morning, and I feel like I have maybe 10 spoons for that day. So I'll do 10 different things. That's very unlikely. But but then the next day I'll wake up and I feel like I only have 3 spoons, or maybe 2 spoons. So I need to rest a lot that day.
I like the visual aspect of that. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And then I think it's a nice thing for people to think about too. We wake up in the morning and think, how many spoons do I have today to work with? Use your spoons sparingly.
Yeah, people tell me they like wake up and they're like, okay, I feel like I have 5 spoons today. And then they'll plan their day around that. So I just like it because it's sort of a visual type trick to plan your day.
Yep, that's amazing. I like that too. Awesome. Um, I worked with occupational therapists in the hospital, and they often help clients with assistive devices. And most people are familiar with maybe a walker or a cane. So we know there are things that are out there that can help us. And I know that occupational therapists are the ones that can help us with all these devices. Could you speak a little bit about assistive devices and how that might relate to people with chronic lung conditions?
So again, that all comes back to energy efficiency. So one of the big assistive devices I often prescribe to people are like bath seats or transfer benches, which just help you to use less energy when you're bathing. So if you're taking a shower, you don't have to use your energy standing and balancing while you're cleaning your body or your hair. You can take a seat, and just get it done a little bit easier. And so you're conserving some of that energy. Long handled showers are often recommended with that so that you can bring the shower down to you. And it's just a little easier to move it around. Raised toilet seats so that you don't have to bend your body as far to get down to the toilet seat, or put as much strain on your knees to get down and get up. Reachers are a big one. So you don't have to bend over as far, which takes a lot of energy sometimes, and also physical expenditure.
And I've heard those people use those reachers as well if you're on oxygen at home to scooch
Yeah,
along all the oxygen tubing so you don't have to bend down.
right, right.
Amazing. Um, what would a consult with an occupational therapist look like? So for somebody who's knowing that they need to start conserving energy and maybe could use some help with some gadgets around the house, what how do they go about finding an occupational therapist, and then what does the appointment look like?
I'm not as familiar as the resources in BC, but I would assume that you could contact the College of Occupational Therapists of British Columbia, and they would probably have a directory of private practices that you can contact based on what your need is, because a lot of them specialize. And then once that happens, typically you'll be contacted by the occupational therapist. They might do a little bit of an over the phone assessment, but a lot of occupational therapists like to see a person in their home and watch them demonstrate the tasks they want to do and how they're doing them currently. That'll also help with how to adapt environments to make sure that that task becomes easier for that person.
Gotcha. So during COVID, we've noticed that a lot of things went more online. And so occupational therapy then would be more of an in-person type of a service.
Typically, depending on the regulations in your area. I actually know a lot of private practice OTs that did a lot of virtual visits as well. So the person will actually take the computer around the room to show the OT what their space looks like, because that's such an important component of planning and helping figure things out with a person.
Amazing. People are finding ways to make it happen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kayla, for joining us today. The information has been super valuable and helpful for our clients.
Thank you for having me.